Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhi No Bhavantu. May all beings be happy and peaceful. Hi everyone, Phoenix here. Welcome to my channel. It is Friday, March 17th. There's a whole lot going on in the markets, I'll tell you that. Bull market is back on, apparently. We shall see. We shall see. Who's here? Hi, Adam. I'm going to give it a minute here and talk about this nice fancy retreat. It's actually a really nice place in Nosara. One of my favorite places on the planet, and that says a lot because I have been to a lot of different places. And there will be yoga and meditation, and we will get to chill out and get away from the charts. Boy, it's just been nonstop. You know, I mean, last night I'm up trading and I'm like, what is going on? It keeps pumping, and, you know, trying to catch the meat of the move, which I did pretty well this week, but it's just been, yeah, it's how it goes in crypto. A lot of times I wish that we had some sort of a planned vacation with all of crypto where we could just say, okay, everyone, we're going to shut this down for the night. We're going to close up shop for the weekend. But of course, that's not how it works in the world of crypto. So what's going on? Okay. We're going to look at this from a few different perspectives because I want to try my best to be neutral here. I did actually lay out the trade setups for Bitcoin longs and Ethereum as well. And we actually did hit a couple of the targets for Bitcoin. And we're actually right at the mid right now that I had labeled on Wednesday and Monday, between this level here, this previous 25K and 28,600. So this critical level of potential resistance, support maybe flips into resistance here. Been very strong. I mean, you can see it's pretty obvious to anybody that's been paying attention. And meanwhile, what's curious is that some alerts might be going off. Let me actually delete this alert. Injective is crossing. We'll get into Injective in a minute here. But meanwhile, gold is pumping. Okay, interesting, right? Dollar is down. Dollar is down right now. Okay, so normal, pretty normal for crypto and stocks to pump or at least rally while the dollar is down. But it's still in a short-term uptrend, so likely going to push back up higher again. And the total market cap is now, again, it's above $1 trillion. So we're at 1.1 trillion again. But notice that the total 3, which is all the altcoins, has not gone up as much. And as a matter of fact, it's only 2.67% up today versus the total 5%. And actually, it looks like, I'm sure, I'm not going to look at the chart, but I'm sure the Bitcoin dominance has been roaring back. Actually, let's take a look at that really quick, because what I'm noticing, the trend is that the altcoins are not, they're not keeping up with Bitcoin right now. And that is a sign, okay? So, and especially Ethereum. And we'll look at the ETH BTC chart in a moment, but let's see if we can find the Bitcoin dominance chart here. That's the market cap. I guess we'll just, yeah, we'll look at that. Okay, notice, okay, of course, notice what's happening. This usually occurs before we see altcoins really drop off. And so it looks like, I'm wondering if maybe this is CZ, maybe this is other whales and institutions, maybe it's a combination, but Bitcoin dominance has been returning. And so it doesn't feel like bull market vibes here. It feels something is definitely off. So let's take a look and see with Bitcoin whether there is the potential for more upside here. So 25K I mentioned was critical because it was the accumulation range. And so we have actually broken out of the accumulation range, but is it temporary or is it for good? Now, this could be just like we saw down here, okay, just like we saw here, this could turn into an accumulation up above, okay? throughout here. Okay, so now we have to assume that our range is between 25K and 28,600. This is the range and we're right at the mid. So this is a no trade zone for me. Actually, I did long Bitcoin and I will go through that in a moment here. I got out too early. Okay, but I made some good money because I had a pretty large trade in this. But so this could turn out to be a deviation. And this would be, again, this is still our accumulation range. This does happen during accumulation. This does happen if we pull up, let's see if we can find, if it's on this chart here, the Wyckoff. Let's see if we can see accumulation. Oh, we have a few of them to look at here. Okay, but notice how in this picture here, you have the automatic rally. This could have been the automatic reaction here, and then it did push up higher in several instances. There was one here, there was one here, but they turned out to be deviations back inside the range, and then it came down much lower from there. So we don't want to rule out the deviation yet. I wouldn't rule that out actually until it breaks above 28,600 with conviction. And so if Bitcoin really pushes up here and it sort of, we get some consolidation, maybe it comes back and retests 25K. I did mention this, if it comes back, retests here and continues to show some strength, is not breaking down, that's a long trigger, again, longing back up to the mid and then eventually up to 28,700, or we just push straight up and don't look back, or maybe push straight up and then come straight back down again. But I wouldn't be ruling out a deviation until we break above this level here, this 28,600 with some strength. Okay, so what would that look like? It could look like just more chop in here for a while, and again retesting here, coming back up here, the ping pong sort of scenarios in this range, just like we saw here. Okay, and this could take days, it could take weeks. I don't really know for sure. I think that we may see some resolution by next week, and with FOMC, that's on Wednesday. And so I am sort of I'm flat in stocks, I'm flat in crypto right now for the most part. I mean, I'm completely flat, but I am taking trades. I'll probably be doing some day trading. But I feel like as far as from a swing perspective, we need to wait and see, because if we get, say we get another 50 BP hike, then most likely everything's going to crater, because that was actually what we were expecting. But now with banks failing and all the Fed intervening, people are saying, even JP Morgan is saying there's a much higher likelihood that they're going to have a lower hike, only 25, right? And so that could have a dramatic impact on the market and keep them at elevated levels for prolonged periods of time. Okay, some people are saying, well, they're just going to pause completely, back into QE, money printer goes burr, everything's good again, and then the markets just skyrocket. I mean, we are living in a very strange time, and these are unprecedented times for the markets. And so props on you if you're here, you're still here paying attention and you're trading this. It hasn't been easy for any of us. I mean, this kind of price action, bulls have definitely had a much easier time. I will say that the bulls have had a much easier time than the bears, because it's just been, when it goes up, it just keeps going up. And here we are. Just take a look at this daily candle for Bitcoin. After this, there was virtually no pause. I mean, you could say this here, but bears, meanwhile, waiting for it to break down, breaks down, and then finally breaks down back to the mid and then back up again. Okay, so, and that's just Bitcoin. I mean, I don't even want to look at the alt charts right now. I mean, we're going to look at some alt charts. I want to look at Injective and maybe Optimism and a couple of the others. But so we're in a new range now until proven otherwise. We're well above the daily and the monthly open and the weekly open. The monthly opens at around 23,200. So still very much bullish short term. I'm not ready to fade this yet unless it was a scalp play. And so what would that look like for me on a lower time frame? Just looking on the 15-minute here, this level here would be pretty critical. So if there's a strong move, and by strong, I mean stronger than bigger candles, right? That's basically what I mean. Bigger candles down below here breaks down. There's a short trigger all the way back down to possibly 25K. Okay. And that would be sort of the retest, the healthy retest. So that would be a short, and then reevaluating from there, potentially taking profits. But that is actually a pretty decent move. I mean, that's a 4 or 5% move. So that's one trade setup there. Or maybe it comes back down. Let's see if we can get rid of these here. Maybe it comes back down and then we get a deviation, fails to break down, gets back inside. That would actually probably be a long trigger for me. And then targeting up here, and then probably somewhere in between these two levels here. So that would be like 27,750, somewhere just under that maybe. And then eventually 28,600. I wouldn't put it past Bitcoin right now, considering this price action that we've seen here. So let's just review my long from yesterday, because I feel like it is important for you to understand like what my reasoning was. I longed Bitcoin around 25,100, and I was watching this very carefully and mentioning it to the C3 members. You see the breakout build up here. It wasn't really that hard to see. Every time you see it's hitting against the wall, it's hitting against the wall. We have this ascending triangle here in an already bullish sort of environment. And so but then you have this 15-minute candle here. But as a matter of fact, I was able to get in a little bit lower because I was looking on the lower time frame. So if we look on this always throws it off here. That looks better. Okay. If we look on the 5-minute, you see this candle here, but actually this wasn't a 5-minute candle. This was a 1-minute candle. Okay. So this is how I am able to spot whales. This is how I'm able to find out when the whales are involved. Look at this. This was a 1-minute candle. Okay. And then of course we had a little bit of a throwback, but it still held. It held. And so this was actually my entry trigger down here. And so it was a great entry. Unfortunately, took profits too early. That was my sort of, that's always my Achilles heel, as I'm sure it is for many of you. I should have just waited for the pattern to develop, but it was getting later in the evening and I just wanted my profits. So do I see weekend alts mini rally? It's possible. I mean, like I said, they've been down relative to Bitcoin. If we look at, let's just say Matic Bitcoin, you can pull up the BTC chart for any of these alts and see, look at what it's been doing. You see that? So it hasn't, I mean, maybe it comes roaring back, but it's been in a downtrend for a while now. I wonder Phantom, let's see if Phantom, and there are some exceptions to this, like Phantom's sort of an exception, but overall it has been in a downtrend here. If we look at like Lido, and Lido is closely tied to Ethereum, obviously, Lido BTC, you'll see the same thing. Okay. So, I mean, there could be more upside for altcoins, but if you look at the ETH BTC chart, not only did it break down from the mid, we did discuss this, that it would eventually, this would happen and it will come back down towards the January or the 2021 lows. Okay. And potentially even go lower. But this is not looking like it wants to come back right now. It's tried to pull back. It's tried to pull back a couple of times. And this is actually the most I've seen Ethereum down relative to Bitcoin in several months here. So I'm wondering if that has to do with the Shanghai upgrade. I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't really matter. What matters is just what we're seeing on the chart. And it doesn't, every time it tries to push up relative to Bitcoin, it gets pushed back down again. So it's almost like there's some sort of a sell wall in place for Ethereum because it's struggling to break through. When we would have thought like the targets for Bitcoin, if Ethereum is really following Bitcoin, then it would already be up here. It would already be at around 1850, and it's not. And it's not breaking above this previous local high here. So after the retest, it did retest. I did take a brief long on this, made some money, but got out because it just wasn't showing any momentum. But we did get a retest, and now, but it hasn't done anything yet. That's not saying that Ethereum won't just rip all of a sudden. It could rip straight to 2K, especially if Bitcoin holds above this mid-level here at 26,800. Ethereum could rip at any time. That's how it goes with, of course, with both ETH and the altcoins. But it just, I'd be looking to, if I were looking to take shorts, which I'm not yet, when it comes to the swing trades, I'd be looking to short Ethereum over Bitcoin. Because like I said, Ethereum has not yet come back down to these range lows here, where Bitcoin actually deviated below the range lows. Ethereum hasn't even come back to them yet. So there's this whole area here that I think still needs to be filled. And I would go as far as to say that I think a lot of the alts are going to eventually revisit their yearly opens. Okay, I think that's going to happen. So I have this indicator here, and I don't know, maybe you can search for it. I can't even remember what it's called, but you can actually look weekly, monthly, yearly, daily open. Look at the yearly open for the alts. Look at optimism. Okay, it would be all the way down here. People would say, well, you're crazy if you think that's going to happen. I mean, crazier things have happened, right? Look at the price action that we've seen here. But would I fade these yet? No, I'm not going to fade them until I have clarity with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the king. And whenever there's any sort of confusion as a trader, for me personally, I just forget. I'll sort of track the alts. Like I'm interested in Injective right now, because normally I would want to short this, but I don't want to fade anything until I see Bitcoin start to really lose its momentum. And we're still sort of in the middle of this run. So but Phantom yearly opens all the way down at 20 cents. Okay, and it is above the monthly open, it's above the weekly open. And just trying to trade this right now, I don't know if I just feel for those of you that have been in this right now, like it looks like, if it were me, I mean, normally I would fade this at this point, because we have not one but two swing fails, and it's just, notice it's right above this wick here. Okay, and so Phantom looks like a fade. If it was a day trade, maybe. If it was a swing trade, probably not, because it's just choppy as ever, and bunch of devil horns out there with the alts. If I were just taking this as a quick day trade, then I'd probably be looking to trade it down to somewhere in here. Okay, and then I would probably get out of the trade, and unless it just really breaks down. It could. I mean, we could have a repeat of what we saw here, or it could do something like this if Bitcoin holds here. Okay, so I just don't have any clarity on alts, and cash is a position that can save you a lot of money. Trust me, I've been there. Last week I did really, really well, and then over the weekend I gave at least half of it back to Injective, trying to fade this at the wrong time. And it was giving every technical sign, but it didn't matter because it's on its own schedule. They're all on their own schedule. So Injective actually did come back and swing fail up above this range high here. So this is usually, for me, this is a short trigger, but that would be an aggressive trigger because we haven't really seen any signs of it actually breaking down yet. I mean, it's not really, it hasn't given us enough data, but this would be an aggressive short trigger under normal circumstances. But S&P is actually down 1.5% today. And tech stocks actually are sold off for the most part, with the exception of Google. Meta was way overbought. Tesla is still sort of hovering in its range, in the middle of a larger range here. And so there's not a whole lot of clarity. I don't think we will have clarity really until after post-FOMC. So again, day trades, okay. Bitcoin, Ethereum, I'm sticking to the majors. I'm sort of risk off in that sense. I'm not ready to just go all in on the alts yet. I don't know that I will. I feel like once I get a good trade, I can just focus on that trade, and it saves me a lot of stress. So with the Bitcoin trade, It was a great trade. I should have just held on to it or sold half and trailed the stops on the rest. And that's just the way it goes. So you try to catch the momentum again and let it chop when it wants to chop, and don't try to guess. None of this is financial advice, but I'm just talking to myself. Phoenix, don't guess what's going to happen next, because you don't know. With this price action, we don't know. With what's happening in the world, we don't know. And also, stay really clear and focused within yourself. Stay at the center of your being and understand that you know that you can make money in any circumstances, and that you are divinely guided and protected always. Know that and feel that within every cell of your body, because that's what's going to help to give you an edge as a trader. That's what most traders they don't even care about that stuff. They're like, well, I just want to make money. Well, if you want to make money, be aligned with the universe, because if you're aligned, then you know when it's worth it and when it's not. You know when it's a good decision and when it's not. Yesterday, I'm going to give you an example. Yesterday, I actually took a long early on Bitcoin, because there was several times where it looked like it was getting ready to break out. I think it might have been here or here, and 5-minute candle was a pretty big candle. And I entered the trade, and then I immediately got this strong frequency. It was like the kind of thing where I don't know if you experienced this, but it came through, and it actually was a very strong, not only a feeling, but a noise that passes through my body. And I knew that something was warning me. And so I got out of the trade. It would have been stopped out and lost a lot more. But that was just like, for me, I'm paying attention to those things, because I know that there are spirits, guides, angels, whatever you want to call it. I know that we are being guided, but most of us just aren't paying attention. And so it's in our best interest at times to sort of sit it out and wait. And at other times it's in our best interest to go full tilt. And right now, the reason that I'm not really keen on taking longs, unless it's more of a day trade, is because of what we've seen so far, because of how far up we are, okay? And because we haven't yet retested 25K. Now, like I said, just like before, this has happened already once before. If it does this and it just wants to push straight up to 28,700, I'm not going to get FOMO, especially not up here, because there's only this much left here. If you missed all this, then it doesn't make sense to long this, right? Because the risk reward just isn't there. Okay. We're looking to maybe short at the extremes here. Okay. Not long at resistance. Okay. And so, but if it does come back down here, then I feel a little bit more comfortable taking more of a swing play and playing this larger range here. But this is not much for me to work with here. Okay. Ethereum actually, it still has the potential to push much higher, but it just, until ETH BTC reclaims ETH BTC, I would want to see it come back into this here. Okay, into this 0.067, and then if it does a sharp move back up here, then I'd probably be looking for longs on Ethereum, because it's probably going to pull another one of these moves, right? That's what it's been doing. But if we don't get any strength, then there's no sense in taking a long on Ethereum either, and there's no sense in taking longs on any of the alts either, because look at what we've seen. First of all, they're either already at range highs, or they're somewhere in the mid, like Optimism here. I believe this is a February range here. Let's just look at this for a second. Yeah, this is the February range that I'm looking at, but and this is the mid. It's right at the mid. Okay, and so I'm just not interested in this. This is a chop zone. This is a value area. I want to get, if it gets back up here, great. If not, on to the next chart. I mean, Phantom is also pushing up toward the February high up here. If it gets above and starts to deviate, and we start to see some weakness with Bitcoin, okay, then that's a swing. That's a swing play back down to the mid, and then eventually possibly back down to the yearly open. And actually, back down to the yearly open. Okay. And that would be sort of the pattern among all of the alts. So it could be that this is just one giant dead cat bounce for all of the alts. If you look across the board, you'll see that 𝐸𝐷 actually has not been strong. And I think also I would attribute that to the relative weakness of ETH. 𝐸𝐷 did not really, I actually caught a short over here and wrote it down to here and took profits. And I was expecting it to push back up sharply because that's what it's been doing, but it hasn't yet. That's not saying it won't. If Ethereum, again, if ETH-BTC reclaims this level here, okay, then in that case, I'd be looking to possibly take a long on 𝐸𝐷 and maybe Matic as well. Let's take a look at Matic for a moment. Matic's just not in a I don't have my levels on this chart because I switched over my charts, but Matic is just not in a place where I'd want to trade it. And that's the short end of it. So how are you guys feeling? Yeah, it's funny because it's almost like yeah, it's been a lot of activity. I think a lot of people are bummed out because they missed this, or maybe they were positioned short. But you've got to be really paying close attention to hit these moves. Both the first time I actually so in both instances I was right, and it's a good thing when you're right about, you have a sense of the direction, but you don't make the trade, or you only get part of the trade or whatever. I mean, in an ideal world, we catch the whole move and that's it. And all you had to really do was catch this one single candle and ride it all the way up. But that's easier said than done, because all along the way, you're thinking, you know, as those profits increase, you're thinking, if I don't take profits, it could reverse all the way back and stop me out at break even, and then I get nothing. And so it's a psychological game. And the only way to really win this game is to have control over your emotions and to have control over your mind in the long term. And the only way to do that is to actually do things aside from just staring at charts all day. There are people that I know, there are traders that I know that literally spend all day, every day staring at charts, and they have a lot more money than I do. But also at the same time, they've been trading a lot longer. We're talking like 2-3 decades, okay? And it probably took them a lot longer to get to the position that I'm at right now. And I would say that is the case because I have cultivated a certain level of control over my mind that they have not. Okay. And even in certain situations, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. I think that you really, and especially like what's most important here in all of this, you can become a multimillionaire. You can have tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars doing this. You can do that. It's possible. But you also, you want to be healthy. You want to be sane. And if you're not healthy and sane, then it doesn't matter how much money you're making. Like, I would rather not spend as much time on charts and miss more moves and have less trades, but higher quality trades that make me consistent income than be completely go crazy because the market's moving in the Asian hours and I need to stay awake and I'm losing sleep and I don't have balance with my family and I don't have any friends and yeah, I don't even have time to do all the things that I would normally want to do. And so there's the trade-off with that. And you've got to find your own balance. But right now, like, I'm perfectly okay. You have to get to the point where it's okay if I miss a move. It's okay if I miss this entire move, because there's always going to be more opportunities. And this is the constant reminder that I am feeding myself. There will always be more opportunities. There's always more fish in the sea. Like, you didn't talk to that pretty girl, there's so many more, you know, or you had whatever, you lost your job, there's going to be something much better coming along. If you missed the trade, there's the trade on the way down could be 100 times more profitable. And all it really takes, you know, I say that if you have one bad trade, it can blow up your account. That's true. If you don't have proper risk management, one bad trade can blow up your account. But one good trade can double, triple your account. Okay. One really good trade, one solid trade, That's all it takes. And that can wipe away months of losses if, you know, but ideally you have a strategy to where you're able to achieve multiple R's on your trade. So not just a 1R multiple, but 2 or 3. For me, I try and target a between a 2 to 3 minimum R multiple. And that way, with a 3R, all I need is 5 out of 20 trades just to break even. So if I have even half my trades at 3R, then, you know, over let's say I take 20 trades in a month, which actually I probably, if let's say I take 20 trades in a month, if I have 3R, then that would be a 30R. And so if I'm risking 1% per trade and you get a 30R, and this is having half of your trades bomb out, okay? So then you'd still end up with a 20R. So you're only getting half of your wins. Half of the time you're wrong, half the time you're right. But when you're right, you get 3R. That's a 20R in a month. That's 20% in a month. And so that's something to really think about, is like, you don't have to know all the strategies. You just need to know 1 or 2 or 3 really solid strategies and just hammer them home. And so for me right now, what I'm showing you is the breakout strategy. The breakout strategy it can be really helpful, is spotting those candles that really stand out at critical levels or after periods of consolidation. Like right now, if I see a 15-minute candle that just roars up here, well, we already discussed why I wouldn't take a long here, but let's just, if there was another big, large candle here, it doesn't matter to me because there's already been all of this. But if it settles like it did here for a period of time, and then we see the build up, and then we see that 1 minute, 5-minute candle, that's going to be a sign to me that there's whale involvement. Okay. And so that's that one strategy. If that was all that you were focused on, and trying to go back and finding all the various breakouts in the situations, which I've actually done that, find those 15-minute candles where there was the breakout and what was the pattern. And of course it's high stakes because you've got to have tighter stops if you want to have a higher return. But again, if you bomb out on 50% of those trades, and what's the worst thing that happens? You set your stop, it's a 1% loss, and then you get 50%, you just nail it. 3R is 20% in a month if you took 20 trades. So just going through some logic with you all to sort of reframe the mind, because I know some of you, what I notice from the traders in my group, and I notice this because I know your trading volume, is that some of you will trade a lot, like in a very short period of time, a lot, like more than I do, a lot more than I do in a very short period of time. And then all of a sudden you won't trade for a while. And that's not a good sign because that's how most traders trade, is they'll start making really good money all of a sudden, and then they'll just overtrade. And overtrading is one of the worst things that you can do in this sort of an environment. The best thing to do is, they say, oh, well, you've got to trade more to learn more. Well, if you want to trade more, then practice on a demo account, or take the trade hypothetically and see how it pans out. If you're still learning, if you're still refining your strategies. I don't know if this is helpful for any of you, but it's just what's coming through right now. So, yeah. So I think that there's about 18 of you watching this right now. I know that there's a lot more of you that will probably watch this later on, but I don't have anything else to really share with you today. I feel like it's been covered a lot. I've covered a lot. So just to summarize, I'm not looking for longs right now unless Bitcoin comes back down to 25K. I would maybe take a scalp short down to 25K if we break down from this 26,400 level. Ethereum is weaker than Bitcoin, so I'd probably be looking to short it if everything just broke down suddenly. I don't expect there to be an immediate breakdown, so don't get the FOMO right now. There's time. If it gets to 28K to 28,600, I'd probably be taking an aggressive short here. At least the first time it visits that. if it spikes up to there, you better believe I'm shorting this. And we'll see what happens from there. And then I'd have to reevaluate what happens with the alts. But I think that we see some consolidation in this larger range between 25 and 28,600. And the alts I'm not really interested in right now. It doesn't give me a rush. It doesn't, I mean, I get a rush in the sense that it stresses me out watching something like Phantom do this. This is stressful. This is not trade worthy to me. And I've had much more success with the more stable majors. Remember, the smaller the market cap, the more dangerous it is trading in, especially if you're even a professional trader is going to have a hard time trading this like under these conditions. They're maybe going to be, it's just more of a gamble. There's not really, unless they're seeing something I'm not here, not worth it. I know when to sit it out and just watch from the sidelines, and this is one of those times for me. So how do I set a short trade? Like, how do I set one up? It just depends. I mean, I do show this in my courses. I think many times I've shown that, but it just depends, like, where's my invalidation? So where am I wrong? And that's where my stop loss needs to be. And where would my take profit level be? So I just showed you this here. So on a 15-minute, like, let's just look at a day trade here for Bitcoin. You see this sort of double top, and this is for me, this is the mid. So, I mean, literally, I'm not making this up. I drew this like a couple weeks ago, and it's struggling at this level. So if it does break down on the 15-minute chart, and then it breaks below this 26,425, if there's some strength, I might just short it straight away. If it sort of consolidates and then shows me some signs, then that's my entry. And there I've already set up my trade. I've decided, okay, I'm going to take a short. I'm using the short position tool here. And then, okay, where's my stop? It's going to be somewhere above here. I'm not going to put it right on this level. I'm going to put it somewhere above this. And depending on how aggressive I'm feeling, I might be closer or further away. And so in this case, I would probably do like a 3.25% stop on this scalp. And then I would have my take profit. You could set your take profit levels. And so here I like to use this just to let people know the levels. So there's my stop. There's initial take profit. Could be a complete take profit if I just want to be out of the trade. Could take 75% and then just let the rest ride and trail my stops if I'm willing to pay attention to it. But I don't think that it would go down this far. I'd probably just take profits here, or maybe even, just to be more conservative, maybe even take some profits somewhere in the middle between these two. So you've got 50% here, 50% here. So I've just set up a trade for you. If that plays out, which I think it might, then there's the short trade. Is that helpful, Adam? One day there's going to be so many questions in this chat that I'm not going to be able to answer you guys. So that's all I've got for you today. I hope that you found this video informational, inspirational. Support me, like my videos, and share them with your friends. If you make some money, give me a shout out. I have this super chat enabled. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but they told me that I should do it on YouTube, so I did. So anyways, have a beautiful rest of your day.